What's up, everybody? I cannot tell you how honored I am and ecstatic I am to be sitting next to the wonderful and Miss Lovely Christina Krause.
Thank you so much.
What's up?
I'm doing good.
So, guys, we are, I mean, seriously, like, I know a lot of big players in the industry, and it takes a lot for me to get enamored by somebody as enamored as I am with Christina.
Are you enamored with me?
I'm enamored with you.
I like it.
Because it's so hard to find players that have such a freaking massive understanding of their niche. In any niche, whatever that is.
Yeah.
As you do with the marketing side of things, which lead gen is the thing.
Yeah. It's all about the lead.
It's all about the lead.
Yeah, 100%.
How'd you say it? The lead is your most important,
the most important asset in your business.
And that's absolutely, I've totally adopted that, and I say that all the time now too, because it is true. It is absolutely true.
Without a lead, you die.
And it's the lead and the negotiations. And so one of the things that I love about you is that, you know, a lot of service providers see the real estate investor and they're like, oh, how can I make money off of this person? I'll go make money off of this person. You started with investing.
Yeah.
Right?
Active investor to this day.
Active investor to this day.
Yeah.
Probably the largest single family investor in Delaware at this point in time, if not near it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do.
Am I
brisk,
over-fluffing you?
No, I mean, we do a pretty brisk business. I try to stay. I like being
I'm
low
sorry.
key.
I'm
I like
sorry.
being low.
I'm selling you out.
Quietly taking over the world. But okay, I'll take it.
So to have somebody who can just as easily spew the information about how to close this deal as how to track your KPIs and your data that are leading into getting that lead, as to how to properly seal a freaking envelope to where more people are going to open it, is such a rarity.
It's all in the details.
And for you to be in here sharing that all for these people at the Propelio Academy is just amazing. So we want to take a minute and just do a little bit of an intro of, like, who are you? Who are you?
Who be Christina Krause?
Because you're about to see some stupid hot fire, if I can be a millennial, and in what she's showing in these classes about how to do the marketing. But let's figure out what's going on with you. So tell me a little bit about, like, just your story in the real estate side, and then I want to know something about Christina Krause.
Okay.
Something
aside from real estate.
Aside from real estate. So tell me first about your real estate experience. What's up there?
Okay, so I've been an active investor since 1999.
Okay.
Got our start. I was working at the time for a bank, and I always knew I wanted to get into real estate. It was always kind of in the back of my mind. And as a matter of fact, how old was I in 1999? I'm thinking
7, 8.
I wish. Probably in my 20s. I can't do math that quickly.
I'm so reliant on my calculator. It's stupid. People will say, you'll ask me like the dumbest thing. And be like,
you're like,
what's
hold
7
on.
times 3? I'm like, hold on, sir. Give me a minute. Because I screwed up like calculations one too many times that I'm like, solid, 9.5, we're good on that. And then like we get to closing and I'm like, I was wrong.
Right.
Like, I did this incorrectly.
Whoops.
No, I don't even try.
It wasn't $4,000, it was $4.
Right.
Winning. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, so you were
got my start in
12 years old in
1999.
1999. Got your start.
So at the time I was working at a bank. A couple of years prior, I was actually on vacation with my family, and I was up late one night. I couldn't go to sleep, so that was back in the. Do they still have infomercials? Like,
I don't know. I
no,
don't
I'm
have
not
TV.
kidding.
Like,
Remember, like back in the day,
for sure.
late at night, there were these infomercials on, and Carlton Sheets was on, and I had always wanted to get into real estate, so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy this. I'm going to read it. I bought it, never cracked it for like 2 years. So at the time, I was working for a bank, and I was managing a night shift, and I was training a new manager who was going to come in and manage this shift. And they said to me, hey, we want you to be here just in case anything blows up or anything happens, but we want you to be completely out of the system. You know, this person was trained, and now we're going to do these dry runs. We need to make sure that they can do it. So we want you to be at your desk, but we don't want you to be in the numbers. Just bring a book, do whatever you have to do. So I brought in this Carlton Sheets course that I had bought. I stayed up all night. That was my shift. I was working the night shift at the time. So I stayed up, read the entire course that night. The next night for me, that next day, I couldn't sleep. And I went and did what the course said, and I bought my first 2 real estate deals back in 1999.
Wait, in your first... Are you telling me that you, literally the next day?
Literally the next day, instead of going to sleep,
You bought 2 houses?
I bought my first 2 houses.
Get out.
110% owner financing.
So, okay, here's the thing, guys. I thought that we were about honesty here at the Propelio Academy. I sincerely believe.
I'm not. I'm only exaggerating a little bit. Just a little bit. No, it's a
awesome.
true story.
That's very cool.
Totally true story. Not only did he finance 100%, I think he financed like 110%, and we literally walked away. Like he literally wrote us a check.
Seriously?
It was nuts. It was nuts. And we were like, oh my gosh, this really does work.
Yeah.
So that's how I got my start. So we got our start building a rental portfolio. Towards the end, I think we owned pushing 300 doors.
Okay.
So like 280, I think, rental units, and then managed at the height of what we were doing another 400 for other people. So we amassed a pretty big, substantial rental portfolio, all the while not wholesaling actually at the time, flipping. So renovating and flipping homes at the time. That led us to a apartment condo conversion that we did. We got into an apartment condo conversion. So it was pre-2006. We bought a 80-unit apartment complex with the intent of converting it to condos. We successfully took it through that process, just in time for the market to turn and for condo financing to go away. And the long story short is this apartment condo conversion that we got into literally took us down. And when I say took us down, I'm talking about bankruptcy. We went through a reorg bankruptcy in the business. I ultimately had to end up filing for personal bankruptcy because I had personally guaranteed all of these loans that were out there. So as you know, we had this very long period of, kind of everything we touched turned to gold. And then this one deal that we did that, just went sour for any number of reasons that completely wiped us out. So
now, can we draw a couple of, let me ask you if you think that this is applicable. Is it applicable or not, honestly? One of the things that I try to steer people away from, first of all, thank you so much for being really honest about the struggles that go on, right? Because I think too many people in the social media, Facebook world only see the closing table check of, look at my $50,000 check I got from the closing table, and it's like, yeah, your P&L shows you lost 80 on that, right? Like, 100%. Don't show me your stupid check.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you will share that, you filed bankruptcy, but you're not in bankruptcy. You're doing really well in real estate because you got back out there and you kept doing it. But can I draw and ask if this is an applicable conclusion? I try to steer people away from shiny things, right? Because everybody sees, I'm doing okay with wholesaling, but I heard about this one guy that's making good money in medical units, so I'm going to go over and I'm going to do some medical units, and then they do that and get screwed. Or, the Airbnb thing is doing really well right now, and so even though I'm flipping like a beast, I know these 3 people that really made money in Airbnb, and in order to be on top of the world, you gotta be on the front of the wave, right?
Yep.
Do you feel, yay or nay, honestly, that it was getting into this other situation that was kind of outside of y'all's niche?
Yep.
That it ultimately ended up bringing you down? Or do you feel like it was, would you take it back? Would you go back and do the condos again? Or do you feel like, we probably overextended ourselves on doing something that wasn't our main niche, right? Does that make sense?
That was exactly what it was. It was 2 things. The first thing is that we were so used to everything that we touched turning to gold.
Felt invincible.
And on top of that, it felt like it kind of made sense. It felt like a natural progression, right? So I'm telling you, at that time, we literally, if we had never bought another thing, we had enough and we did enough and our company was strong enough. So this is not a couple of years that we amassed this over.
People like us.
Yeah, right. We had done this for an extended period of time. We had the backing of banks and all this stuff. The rental portfolio was super strong. Everything was performing well. We were flipping and doing really, really well. So for us, it felt like a natural progression. But had we never done another deal, we could have lived the rest of our lives with everything we could have ever wanted.
Right.
So that's going to lead me to my second point. But the first point being, we got into something that was outside of what we normally did, but it felt like a natural progression. Because we were like, listen, we turn units over all the time. We renovate homes all the time. How hard could it be to take an apartment complex and make some adjustments to the apartments, make it more like a condo, sell these condos? This is what we do. It felt like a natural progression. So that was the first thing. We stepped outside of
your asset class.
That's exactly right. More than anything, though, also, we lacked vision. we had never sat down and said, when is enough enough?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were living outrageously awesome lives.
Mm-hmm.
We had more than we could have ever wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If I might be so bold, we had more money than there was nothing that was outside of our reach. We could have had anything we wanted. We didn't because we didn't need it. Like, but if there was anything that we could have wanted, there's nothing that we couldn't have had if we didn't want it in the world that we were in. And had we ever sat down and said, when is enough enough? It would have prevented us from doing this deal because we didn't do the deal out of greed.
Right.
We just did it because the opportunity presented itself
dealing.
and we thought it made sense. We were like, this kind of makes sense for us to do. So we did this thing, and had we said, why would we take more time? Our kids at the time were young. So had we ever said, just sat down and purposefully said, there's no reason for us to do this. We don't need any more. You know what I mean? And it'll take more time away from our kids. It could potentially knock our balance off.
Right.
We'd have never done this deal. And that deal was what took us down. It's not like, oh, this was also struggling, so we did this to try to support this. This was going.
Very clearly that thing.
It was this, and it's a long story that I won't get into, but it wiped us out. It took everything.
So are you an EOS traction person?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I believe in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the reason I asked that is because one of the things that you brought up a second ago reminded me of it, right?
Yes.
And when you were talking about we didn't have vision, right? We didn't sit down and have a goal.
Yep.
I love the analogy. It's either in Traction or Rocket Fuel where he talks about business owners, we tend to be the captain of a ship, and we are like the deck is cleaned and the jib is jibbed, and you know what? I'm not a sailor, and everything is like we're sailing at like however many knots is a lot, and just doing great, and everything is awesome. And then somebody walks in and says, "Okay, well, where's the compass?" And we're like, "Oh, I forgot to put one of those in."
Yeah.
Right? Our ship looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's clean and we're flying, but we don't know why. We just know that everything right here is great, and we don't know why we're doing what we're doing, and therefore we get completely off track and we don't have any goals, and we never achieve anything, and we don't have our quarterly meetings, and we don't have our annual meetings, and we don't know what we're doing this for, right?
Yep.
And so having that up front could have made a huge difference for you.
And it prevents you, I call it headline chasing, and I see this all the time. If you have not purposefully at some point sat down and said, this is my thing, then when Airbnb and multi-units and all this stuff comes up, all this other stuff comes up,
and
you're
did
going to
you
be
know
very tempted by it.
That there's this little niche of medical need that needs houses to be converted into 17 rooms?
I've heard of that. I think I should do that too.
Yeah.
I think I should do that too.
I know of a guy
It
who knows
doesn't
somebody
sound
who made a lot of
complicated
money.
at all. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
like, okay. And here's the thing. I'm not saying don't get into that stuff.
Sure.
I'm just saying whatever it is that you do, make sure you do it very, very purposefully. I also think that it is really, really important to never ever, so, I talked about the fact that we took an opportunity, even though something was working. Whatever you do, don't ever start a new opportunity to support something instead of fixing what's broken. So I see that a lot too, where this is not working really, really well, but I'm so deep into it that I'm not going to stop doing it before I start doing this. But if I do this will make enough money, to support. Fix the process. Know why something's working if it's working. If it's not working, dadgum fix it.
And that's one of the things. So you go into like data tracking and stuff in the course. So that's one of the huge things that you guys are going to be able to get from her course, if you haven't already watched it, is like, so the reason that me and Christina met is I'm in a mastermind, Eddie Speed's mastermind. She came out and very graciously shared information with us, and me and these other guys in the room that are doing stuff. We're just sitting there like the Maxwell tape logo from back in the day. Remember like tapes, actual cassette tapes?
Yeah.
And there's like the guy sitting on the chair that's just like being blown, like with like the speakers and the lamp is. That's us. So she's just like, look at this one and look at this one. Which one was the better campaign? And like all of us dudes that have been paid on 1,000+ HUDs are like, oh yeah, that one's Christina hit me with a heart, and she's like, ho ho. But guess what? Look at this number, and we're like, dang it.
Yeah.
You're totally right? So
Data
that
and numbers
data
tell
is
the
one of
truth.
the things that I think that you guys are going to have such an incredible benefit from, is knowing which KPIs to track and how to track those KPIs. And so that leads me into another. So I'm going to go into a little bit of what you do, and I'm not going to let you off the hook because I still want to know about who Christina is.
Okay.
But let's be real, okay? Tracking all of this stuff and actually knowing which numbers to track and actually being on top of that and actually knowing how to manage it. Your lead manager thing, by the way, blew my freaking mind.
Yeah, they're blowing up just the space. These.
Do you talk about the lead manager in the
a little
reference
bit?
it a little bit?
Yeah, so I did talk about follow-up, but at the end of the day, virtual lead managers are pre-trained and designed to run follow-up on your leads, and that's where so many people are missing the ball.
And so here's the thing: if you are not active, you may not understand what a mind-blowingly incredible, mind-melting idea that is, because the best ideas are the ones that you're like, that is so dumb. Why did nobody else think of that, right? And this is that thing. This is the revolution to the industry, right? So here's what I'm getting at, is that KPI tracking, knowing how to send the letter, knowing who to talk to and how to talk to them and how to seal the envelope and all that kind of stuff is great. And our dedication to you through the Propelio Academy is that we always provide all the information that you actually need to be successful on your own. But we also have to understand that our highest and best use needs to be what our main focus is on our company.
Preach.
My highest and best use is not figuring out marketing. I've said this many times before. I'm not a marketing genius. I'm a genius at chopping up deals. I'm a genius at making sure that I can convert a lead. I'm a genius at making sure that if there's $1 in that house, we'll figure out a way to ethically get it out. I don't understand all of the deep details, so I understand the value of hiring out that marketing from somebody else who will do it. I like knowing how to do it. I like seeing that kind of stuff, but I also understand it's a lot of freaking time to get it done and to train somebody up to do it. So all of that to say, here's your softball. If you're somebody who's watching these videos and you are equally enamored by the incredible brain that Christina has, but you also understand, look, I work a 9 to 5, or I do not want to spend the time that it takes to really cater this together because I need to focus my time on building this part of my business or this part of my business or being on the appointments, can people not reach out to you and have you handle some of that stuff for them? And how does that work? Can you introduce us to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two kind of distinct companies. The first one, and what most people know us for, is Postal Impact. Mm-hmm. So Postal Impact, what we do is...
that a .com? PostalImpact.com?
Yes, PostalImpact.com is where you can reach us and actually learn a little bit more about what we do. But at the end of the day, everything we do in both of the companies is rooted in data and analytics. Because again, you've made mention of this. Data is everything, not only because there's a lot of power in data and numbers, but also because there's power in truth. And numbers give you truth. We're such emotional creatures. You hear me say this all the time. I am. You can look at every personality test out there, and it's going to tell you Christina favors emotions over logic. And that's most visionaries, and that's most entrepreneurs. And that's why data is so important, because data keeps you honest. Usually when I ask people, how are you doing? How's your business doing? Their answer is dependent on whatever happened the last 2 weeks. They have no idea really if it's good or bad.
And what do you want? How are you getting there? No idea, right? It's the whole compass thing.
Right.
If we don't have a compass looking forward, we oftentimes don't have a compass looking back. Our compass looking back is just how far back can I remember, and how many days have you come home from the office or stepped out of your office room tired, worn out because you worked so hard all day, and you ask yourself this question: what did I even do today? What did I even do?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. 100%.
So you've got to track that stuff, and that data gives you truth. I love that. That's a freaking tattoo right there.
So Postal Impact uses data and analytics to generate leads for our clients, and then we also handle the entire direct mail marketing campaign for them, start to finish. What we do, though, as a list provider, and we don't sell lists, by the way, because we're kind of like we have a completely done-for-you model, and that's all we do.
Turnkey
and
marketing
here's why.
kind of thing.
Yeah, here's why. What's most important to us is providing you with the numbers and with the data. So not only are we generating the list for you and mailing that campaign for you, but more importantly, and I don't know anybody else who does this, we track the lead and your performance all the way through the sales
That's
pipeline.
so amazing to me.
So it's not, we're not just tracking like your direct mail response and how that's working, but we're also tracking how you convert that lead. So oftentimes when something's not performing well, everybody wants to blame the list. More often than not, it's actually not the list, it's actually how you're converting that list, okay? So that's what Postal Impact does. We also do consulting separately. Because once we started to do this for our clients in their direct mail campaigns, they said, I need you to do this on all my campaigns. So, you know, we will actually do that on a consulting level with our clients.
So like even, are you, and I don't know, are you even saying like, so, okay, these people have a list and they're cold calling them or doing a text campaign or whatever. Like you'll go in and consult on that campaign too and show them?
Absolutely. And really kind of globally your business.
Awesome.
So, you know, when we talk about looking back, you know, for the year, we can look back at the year and tell you definitively, these are the campaigns that worked really well for you. This is your cost per lead on this campaign versus this campaign. So when I say consulting, I actually don't like to use the word consulting, because when I think of consulting, I think of like people who are really good at what they do, coming in and evaluating your or looking at a business and then giving you their opinion. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm giving you your numbers. So what we do is we go in and we grab your numbers, all the numbers of your business, we put it into trackers, we organize it, we interpret it, and then we hand you back the truth about your business. Sometimes it's not great and it's worse than you thought. Sometimes it's better than people think, frankly, you know, but again, you take the emotions out of it and you deal with truth, and it allows you to make really good, big decisions about your business and the future of your business as well.
And that was really, honestly, one of the biggest things that brain attracted me to you, is as we're, you know, because it's so easy to get the Facebook, here's my check, here's the, you know, here's my anecdote that sounds really good because you don't know enough about the industry that I can say this, and of course this sounds great, but then actually in practicality it would never work, right?
Yeah.
That's all over the place. Well, Christina gets up and shows us this freaking spreadsheet of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of marketing over years and years of analytics, and like very clearly points to the consistencies and the inconsistencies and the failure points that an entrepreneur, well, I'll put it this way. Been in the industry a long time-ish, know a lot of people, know a lot of big players. You're the first person I've ever met who can so clearly point to an exact moment of failure that other people would have never even thought to ask the question of, could this be a moment of failure?
Right.
Right.
And that is the power of, I do feel really, really lucky that we have access to so much data, because it gets people out of their bubble and allows us to compare them to the global economy of shared data. But here's what's really powerful about data. When you get enough of it and you compress millions of points of data all together, and you know that kind of forms a line. There's only so many standard deviations that anybody can go off of this data before there, you know, things before you can very definitively say something's wrong right here. Like if you see this blip down here, you go, okay, there's a break here, or an up. You're a unicorn right there, right? It is also a truth finder. Because again, if it is statistically impossible for something to deviate so much, then when people tell me sometimes how their campaigns are performing, I'm like, I don't walk around calling people out on their stuff, but sometimes I quietly am like, that's interesting.
So here's the thing, right? Is that I know that to a large volume of people watching this right now, you're hearing us talk about that and you're saying, wow. And to another volume, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even handle thinking about all of this stuff.
Make me want to throw up.
So that really is one of the points of service that you guys have, is that you don't, if you're that person who just heard that stuff and you're like, that's awesome, never in a million years would I be able to handle all of that information. That's where you come into play with this, and with all these points of data and helping your marketing campaign convert. So like my big thing, I'm big on owner financing, seller financing, because I can get your cost per close down by typically 40 to 50%, depending on who you are, because I can help you close more deals out of the same leads you already have by introducing different strategies, right? Similarly, any of you who are watching who have been doing the business for any amount of time and have had to try to scale with teams and put an acquisitions team out there and a manager and a dispositions team and blah, 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 even if it's just you and your wife, you can probably point to at least 2 CRMs that you've used and how the CRM failed because nobody would use it, right? Nobody would actually go in there and update anything that needed to be updated. And so at the end of a 6-month campaign, you had 45 leads in the follow-up status, and you had no idea what any of them did. And you knew that there was probably gold in there, but that was just too much for your brain to handle going back, and you moved them all to dead, and you started from scratch.
I love that you just segued for me. I saw how you did that. I see what you did there. So the second company that is just, we talked a little bit about the fact that it's exploding is virtual lead managers. It's virtualleadmanagers.com. What you just said, I guarantee you resonated with the vast majority of people out there.
It resonated with anybody who's actually done it.
Yeah. Because again, we're entrepreneurs. We're designed to go and take that low-hanging fruit and convert it. And when you're looking at all those other leads, you kind of get overwhelmed. CRMs in general are overwhelming. You know, that's not my thing. You know, so just the fact alone that there's this system that I have to figure out how to use and make the notes. So what we did, once we recognized the fact that this was a common fail point, so if you're out there and you're hearing that, you are not alone. In fact, you are in the vast, vast majority. So if that makes you feel any better, the reason why we created virtual lead managers is because we recognized the fact that over 80% of real estate investors are not following up on their leads. And even of the ones that are, they're not following up the right way. So we would constantly preach to our client the necessity to do it. But once we realized, you know what, they're just not built for this and they're not going to do it, we pre-screen and pre-train VAs to be dropped into your business. They're already trained to some extent. There's a little bit of customization that needs to be done. But these people are designed to drop into your business to manage your CRM, manage, nurture, and audit leads all the way through the sales process, and actually run follow-up sequences for you. So this thing that you're doing or that you're not doing, all of a sudden gets automated and done for you. These people can go into the bucket of old leads and shake the tree and revive them. They can take some of these admin tasks off of your hand, like properly notating things in the system or properly tagging leads. They do all of this management for you, and what they are is they're the guardian of the most important asset in your business. And they make sure that they're monetizing those leads for you, and they make sure that they're properly nurturing and auditing them, and they make sure that what that baby needs is what that baby gets. Because if you just dump everything into fully automated sequences, you've got all these babies coming into your business, right? And a fully automated sequence when the babies are crying is just going to change everybody's diaper. And not everybody's diaper needs to be changed. Yeah. Some need to be fed, and some need to be burped, and some need to be swaddled. You need to have a human being. That the leads are important enough that you need to have somebody making a customized decision, at least initially, about how the follow-up is going to be done.
Well, and one of the things that are so important to draw out of that too is, I mean, that right there. Here's the two audience members that we have right now. One audience member has spent thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in marketing, put the campaigns together, and just got their mind blown because they know that that's where they failed, because we all know that that's where we fail. But they never were able to come in, and they knew that maybe having a VA could help because they've heard about VAs, but they didn't know how to do it. So you can take that. The other audience member is like, interesting, I never thought about that being an issue, because they haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
So it's just like how it's like, I think it was Edison that said, you think education is expensive, try ignorance, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you learn from our mistakes if you're in the latter category, to understand that you can get your marketing campaign, what's the word I'm looking for, like efficient, right? And actually use your marketing dollars to their best ability by allowing somebody else to do that. But where I'm going with that, even though it doesn't seem like I'm going, is we live in an age now where everything's custom. My Pandora plays what I want it to play. My Facebook feed only shows me things that it thinks I would like. YouTube only suggests things that it thinks I would like. Everything is custom, right? Everything is custom. And that means that our sales process is different than it used to be, because we have to understand that our sales process must be customized. If you watch my Grant Teach Me Somethings or my negotiation series or anything like that, you'll hear me many times preach out against the traditional knowledge of, here's 3 offers, please choose which one you want. Get away from that crap. Nobody wants that.
That's right.
Find the offer that you think works best for you and them, offer it. When they say no, ask why, and now you get to come up with your second offer and tell them why it's customized to their no, right? So that's how you can convert that lead in that way. But similarly, this automated sequence Joe may freaking hate text messages. He may be 88 years old, and if your next follow-up sequence is an automated text message, he's going to say, this person doesn't know me, and therefore I'm going to go with the person who built better rapport with me and understood my needs, and I'm going to accept an offer that was less because they understand me, right?
So funny. I feel like you've been following me around the past couple of days, and I know that you haven't, but you're repeating everything that I've said. We do live in this age where people are used to having things customized, and here's why that's important. What gets one person's attention is not going to get the other person's attention, which is why it's important if you have a high value list to retarget those leads. Because this person's never going to respond to a postcard, and this person's never going to respond to an outbound call, but they're going to respond to a ringless voicemail, or they're going to respond to a letter or whatever. Here's the bottom line. You have to figure it out. You have to be willing to go in and get more elegant with your marketing. You can't just throw a bunch of crap at the wall anymore. It doesn't work that way. You have to get better. You have to scale to be better first, and then scale to be bigger. But there's no point in duplicating mediocre processes. Take the time to understand and get better, and then build.
I love it. And if I understand right your process, so here's the thing: is practice what you preach. Legit, I will be moving all of my marketing over with Christina. She's, I've had enough conversations. I know enough. I mean, you're running campaigns for some of the biggest players in the nation.
Yeah. I
mean, you've got people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in their marketing campaign through you.
Yeah.
So this is not just like some cute, sounds like she's smart girl that we found on the side of the road that can kind of she walking and talking the game and running the game for the real players, right? But that's not to say that you have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And so if I understand the process right, we come in, we hire you to handle our marketing.
Yep.
The lead manager is a separate company. If we want to add that in, you can handle both of those things together, correct?
Yep,
separate
absolutely.
service. But you plan to spend a little bit more on your first month to 3 months of campaigning, so that you can find that data.
Yep, absolutely.
And then you kind of pare back from there to get your optimal, hey, we're most efficient at this number.
Yeah.
And then you can pour more money into that style of marketing if you so choose. Is that right?
That's right.
How brilliant is that?
But here's what I will say. Again, let's get back to scaling to be better before you scale to be bigger. The first question I ask people anymore when they come to me and they say, I want you to handle all my marketing, I say, do you have a consistent, methodical follow-up system in place on the leads that you are currently running? And if you do not, then you start, luckily, at the cheapest place, which is a virtual lead manager. And honestly, if you need to scale your marketing up, you will not get a higher ROI. If you consider lead management a marketing expense, which you should, you're not going to get a higher ROI on marketing than that. There is no reason for me to throw hundreds of leads at you if you're not being responsible with the ones that you already have.
You have no idea how many leads are just sitting dead in people's pile.
You have to be responsible with what you have been given first before you take on more. There's no point. There's a
little bit of scripture in that.
No, you heard it. You heard it. And here's the thing. I personally think the Bible's the best business book ever written. Legit. There's some real truth there. I mean, you just have to be responsible with what you've been given.
Pay attention to Timothy and Solomon's words of leadership and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before, of living beyond or living above reproach and all that kind of stuff, of how that can help you here, right? Yeah. Amazing. I love it. I don't want to take up your whole day. She has been working her tail off for you guys. She spoke last night. It is the day after the Propelio event, and just killed it on the stage, letting everybody know. And then spent all day in here just filming for you guys and getting things ready for you to be out there and taking action. So before we leave, though, I want to know a little bit about you. What is it you've got? You've got 3 weeks from now. You have 4 days completely to yourself, what are those optimal days? What happens in that day?
Oh my gosh. Well, given the fact that I'm a single mother of a 14 and a 16-year-old, it's really hard for me to just like look beyond the reality of the fact that I have a 14 and a 16-year-old, and they, you know, kind of like my days end up somehow getting filled anyway.
But that's 14-year-old, very successful track and field or track?
Track and field, because she does believe it or not, she does like short sprint, like she's really, really good at like the 100 and 200, and then she does shot put.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Awesome.
It's ridiculous. So, she was a last minute fill-in for shot put. Like the person who normally did shot put wasn't there. And so they were like, at that level, at the time she was in 8th grade, and at that level, you know, they can sub them in. So she'd never done shot put before, but they were like, give it a whirl. Sure. You know,
throwing a ball. What more do you want? I mean, what is it?
So they showed her how to do it. She does it. Kid is throwing like further than they have the girls and they have the boys. She's throwing with the boys.
Did she actually?
First time, and they were like, I think maybe she should do shot put.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And then your 16-year-old is very artsy, right?
Oh yeah, man. I'm telling you, and this is how fast life goes by. I remember just the other day walking down from downstairs, and there's this picture of an eye that was drawn out. And I'm the level of detail, I wish I had it, I'd show you, but literally with a pen, and I was like, where did you guys get this? Who drew this? And Alexa was like, oh, I drew that.
That's so cool.
I was like, what? So when you say if you had all that time, honestly, it would be like I almost cried just thinking about the fact that how did I not know that my kid did that? You know what I mean? So when I have the opportunity, the truth is, I have, you know, my business life, I have my spiritual life involved in the church. Up until very recently, I was a worship leader at a church. I've started to travel a good bit, and that didn't allow me to do that, but still very involved in that.
Instrumentalist, or you do all the vocals?
Vocals,
okay.
Yeah. I was the worship leader there. And then now, honestly, when I have extra time, I know I don't have a lot of time left with those kids. You know what I mean? I just try to spend time with them and talk to them, and somehow, luckily, they still like hanging out with me. I'm not quite sure how that works, because sometimes
do they ask
I'm
for
like,
money at the end?
sometimes I'm like, are you sure you want to hang out with me? Don't you? Like are you sure? Like to take a nap. How would you like to take a nap? You know what I mean? But I feel very fortunate that cool. My kids still like hanging out with me. So usually when I have some free time, it involves some kind of activity. Like we like to travel. I like to take the kids with me. We're going to go to Dallas here. We're going to come back to Dallas, I should say, here in a couple weeks, and the kids will come with me. That's cool. We'll just hang out and do something together. Cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I can't thank you enough for being here. This is a really rare opportunity for us, guys. And again, just as a show of what Propelio's got going on here, right? Propelio's got a real movement going on. The Academy is a real place to get real information, to actually go out and better your career. And as you're seeing here, yes, of course, we're going to give it to you. You go out and do it. That's fine. We want you to go out there and do it on your own and be successful.
You should. But
we also understand that there's a legitimate point of, that's not my highest and best use. My highest and best use is to pay somebody else to do it. And if you're that person, Christina's able to be there for you to help you through that. And again, you know, walk the walk. You know, I'm doing it personally, right? It's the real deal. She's the real deal. So give her a digital round of applause. Reach out. How can they get a hold of you? It's postalimpact.com.
Or virtualleadmanagers.com.
Virtualleadmanagers.com.
Yep, and you can actually go there at postalimpact.com. There is a, I should have mentioned this at the end of the segment that I did on probates, but there's actually an ebook that back in the day I used to sell for $97. It's free, and it will literally tell you how to go get probate leads. So there's that on that website. On the Virtual Lead Manager website, there's a whole report that we did that tells you what the highest and best use of your time is if you're going to do the follow-up yourself. And you made a really good point. I'm not here just to hawk my services. My best clients are the people who've actually done it themselves. I actually think there's something to be said for you doing the activity yourself, so that when somebody else is doing it for you, it prevents it helps with people minimizing what we do when
Right.
they've had to do it themselves.
Totally. And I think that's part of why I'm so enamored with you is that I've been there and done that, and
Yeah.
I've seen how much it sucks, and to
Yeah.
meet somebody who actually knows how to do it well, because that's the thing, nobody knows how to do this business like you know how to do this business. And to meet somebody
I
who's
appreciate that.
who's willing to share that knowledge with people freely, because you do want them to go out there and be able to do that on their own,
Yeah.
says a lot about who you are as a person, as well as the confidence that you have in your product to understand that, yeah, you can go do this. The guys who have done it, the guys who have scaled, will recognize the amount of skill that it takes to be able to spout what you're spouting, and appreciate that. So we do appreciate you. Thank you so much for
I
being here.
appreciate you having me.
All right,
It's been
guys,
a blast.
don't forget to reach out to her. Don't forget, if you haven't already, go watch the stinking module because it's amazing. I'm Grant Kemp from CreativeCashFlow.com, and we are so thankful to have you. We're here to help you buy more houses, and we want to hear your success story. So reach out to us anytime you get success. Let us know what's going on in y'all's lives because you're what it's all about. And is there anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, sir. It's been a pleasure, and I hope that this is one of many conversations that we have.
Awesome.
I love you. I love your audience. It's great.
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.